Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about the severe hailstorms of April 28th, 2021. So let's get right into it. On April 28th, there were three severe hailstorms in three major cities: San Antonio, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, and Norman, Oklahoma, combining to be what will likely be $2 to $3 billion in damage. You can see the San Antonio track very clearly because there's lots of hail swaths there, and then we'll go in and zoom in on each of them. So first, San Antonio, you see basically from the Texas border into San Antonio, large hail swaths possible, and that is indeed what happened. We look above those hail swaths at the bottom, and we see very large hail all the way from the Texas border into San Antonio. Those green triangles mean that the hail was greater than 2 inches. If it's a green circle, it means that the hail was between 1 and 2 inches. So that's the terminology on the chart there. In Fort Worth, a very similar scenario occurred. We see it skirt the northwest side of Fort Worth and do decent damage there as well. Very similar in terms of color, that color dictating how large the hail could possibly get, or likely did get, as we see plenty wide-scale reports of 2 inches or more of in diameter of hail. In Norman, the story's very much the same. We see a swath cut right through Norman. In fact, you can hardly see the word Norman on the map where Norman's at, because Norman got hit so hard. And you see again those green triangles all throughout Norman, meaning greater than 2 inches of hail throughout much of Norman. The Mesonet site, and that is the site that collects weather data, got hit directly by this storm, and we can actually see on literally every single thing when the storm hit. So we see the dew point and temperature drop like 8 degrees or so, 6 to 8 degrees. So that's clearly indicative that the storm came in. We see the wind gusts and wind speed rapidly increase and change direction. And with that change in direction, we also had wind speed gusts to 69 miles an hour, which is just below this large significant wind speed requirement. There we see pressure decreasing as well, so that's very notable. And then we also see, of course, a precipitation increase, as you would expect when a storm of this, when any storm hits you. So let's zoom in on Norman. Here we see Max Westheimer Airport right there in the center of your screen. We have Norman. Just below that, the University of Oklahoma down at the bottom, where the hail track basically turns to nothing. So it's very clear where the storm hit. It hit the north side of Norman, also the west side of Norman, all the way basically past Newcastle in terms of going to the west, and then it really ended over Norman. But Norman probably got the hardest hit because there's so much stuff there. Taking a look at the radar real quickly, sorry for that. We do see, of course, again, it started out further to the west of Norman, and it looked like it was going to go to the north of at least where I was at in Norman, which was near where that football is located. And it did, as we see on the second image there. The storm did in fact go to the worst of it, at least that pink area, the very strong part of the storm did go slightly to the north of where we're located. But again, it hit hard to the north. And so what I did an hour and a half after the fact was go out and scout what was going on. And here's what we found. So in my hand right there, you see around 2-inch hailstones. This was an hour and a half after this hail fell. It was 2 inches still in the ground. And so first we went to St. Joseph's Catholic Church because we heard that there was a window out at the church. We couldn't find that window that was blown out, but we see a knockdown porta potty, cones They're doing road construction near the church. So all of those things knocked over, nothing too surprising there. And we saw a car in the parking lot very heavily dented. I actually think that's at Norman Regional Hospital. I'm not sure what happened to the picture of the car in the parking lot at St. Joe's, but that's beside the point. We also have some very large debris, probably 4 inches in diameter, clearly dead tree before it fell, but it was in the middle of the parking lot roadway area. At Norman Regional Hospital, however, also in central Norman, we see, thank you again, slides for clicking too quickly. We see this very, very large hail. Again, like I said, 2 inches or so on the ground still. You see the ground's littered with it in the picture in the bottom left-hand corner. You see these very large hailstones literally all over the place right there. And that's just what was the story. And so some of the bigger ones I picked up, and you can see my hand there. The one in my hand in that upper image there is probably getting itself near 2.25 inches, maybe even 2.5 inches. But definitely greater than 2 inches, again, an hour after the fact. And I believe that stone near my fingers in that upper image is the same stone that's on the ground in those 2 middle images at the bottom of the screen. We see a very tight hail core there in the center. You see it's more white and then in the center, and then it's more clear on the outside. And then I turned the flash off to take a photo of the next one, which is the same stone again. You can see the hail core in the center of the hailstone, and you can see where that shadow is. And that shadow is because this stone literally dented the ground. And I'm estimating that dent to be approximately 3 inches large, which the only reason that would happen is if a 3-inch large hailstone fell. So I believe 3 inches or greater hailstones hitting Norman Regional Hospital. Here's some of the damage from Norman Regional Hospital. Like I said, that car earlier, I believe, was also from Norman Regional Hospital. We see blown out windows. We have 2 of those. I think there were 3 or 4 total. That truck there has some damage to the front of the vehicle. We see a headlight actually on the ground, part of the light on the ground. And then, of course, destroyed windshields, as has been very common across Oklahoma, let alone you can see the dents on both of those cars as well. Very, very notable big dents on those cars. Then we head over to the car dealerships in the Motel 6 in Norman because they're car dealerships and it was a big hailstorm. So, so this is an image. This is the first car we saw when getting to the Honda dealership. And it's kind of hard not to be like, whoa, just looking at those massive chunks of the back windshield missing. But first we went to the Motel 6, kind of because I took the wrong turn, but we ended up seeing KOCO5 News there. They were actually live shooting as we drove in, and the people I was with wanted to interrupt the shot, and I'm like, no, they're clearly doing a live broadcast, so let's not do that. And then they wanted to try to get them to talk to us, but we weren't going to do that. So as we see at the Motel 6, plenty of the windows smashed out. The clearest one is the one in the upper right-hand corner, but trust me, lots of these windows were smashed out. But that one had its light on in the inside. That's why it's so obvious that window was taken out. We also went to Ferguson Hughes Cars, which is more near the intersection. And we see in the upper corner there, we have that Honda with the part of the mirror missing. And then, of course, the windshield destroyed on several of these vehicles. I took a picture of this mud here because you can actually see, again, where the hailstones dented the ground. It's very clear, the little dots throughout the ground there. And then I took a picture of the light from the intersection on the ground because that was what was going on at the intersection of I-35 and Robinson. Or the I-35 service road in Robinson. The lights were completely mangled and destroyed. I have a video of that, but I'm not going to show that here because we're already going fairly long. At the Fowler Honda, like I mentioned, windows blown out. This HRV has its side window and its back window all knocked out. And then we see cars here with all their back windows knocked out. All three of those cars in the bottom image have their windows busted out as well. The HRV is the same in both of those images. Moving on to the windshield damages, like I said, the Swiss cheese looking windshields. And so there's a couple more pictures of that. Another back windshield that actually fared pretty well compared to some of the other ones. And then a brand new 2016 and 2020 cars absolutely destroyed on the front end of their windshields, pelted by these very large hailstones. So that's what I have for this video. Thank you guys for staying around looking at some of the hail damage from April 28th, 2021.